Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm host JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest. No, it's not the former home run king 𝐓𝐇𝐄, Mr. 3030. It is former two-time GCW heavyweight champion, the bad boy himself, Joey Janela. Joey, what's going on? How you doing?
What's up? I think I only won that belt once, but it was only for like 30 seconds that I lost it.
Well, I think JCW and GCW, so technically
Yeah,
two-time
kind of,
champ.
but Jersey Championship Wrestling is a thing now, so I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe that belt is still valid history for the original JC. I don't know. I'm confused.
I'm like conflating the two. I'm putting the two together. Just
Yeah.
it sounds more grandiose. Two-time champion, right? It
Yes,
just sounds better.
it does. It does. You're correct. You're correct.
So what's going on in your world? How are you feeling? What's going on?
Uh, well, a little tied up right now. I had bicep surgery the other day, so pardon my appearance. I kind of look homeless right now, but um, yeah, I got that done the other day, and haven't had really a major surgery in years since my knee in 2018. So this was quite a surprise, unfortunately, and now I got to deal with this.
How did it happen?
Um, Man, I don't really know. I had a match, Royal Rumble weekend. GCW did like a midnight matinee show in Indianapolis, Royal Rumble weekend, and I was in a tag match. It was me and Megan Bain versus the Koger brothers, and somewhere towards the end of that match, my bicep ruptured, and I really don't know because after the bell rang, that's when I started seeing the effects. I saw the veins popping out of my arm, and my arm was twitching, and I was quite confused on what was going on because I didn't hear a pop, I didn't hear a snap, and it wasn't really noticeable yet at that time. So,
Do we blame Atticus at all? Is it his fault?
I mean, oh yeah, we blame him a lot. We can blame a bunch of things. I end up getting into, I'm sure you've seen the clip, some kind of brawl after the show with the deranged wrestler, um,
Yes.
range jealous wrestler. I'm not going to mention his name, who came and flip my gimmick table and try to start stuff with me over something he said years ago, and I responded to like 4 years ago. And with that torn bicep, I picked up that heavy ass table and I hurled it at his head. So that could have a little bit to do with it too. So who knows? But a lot of damage was done Sunday. Atticus, I had a match with him Saturday at the J Cup. Did a lot of damage there, and then Sunday he did a lot more damage. And the doctor was pretty shocked on the condition my bicep was in after this weekend because he's seen it last week. And usually, when you have a tear in the bicep, tricep, pec, usually doctors say, I mean, it can't get much worse. That's like when Cody Rhodes wrestled Seth Rollins in that Hell in a
Yeah.
Cell match and his pec was torn. It can't get much worse, but the doctor changed his perception on that after seeing the before and after of last weekend. It could get much worse.
Damn, terrible. Just sidebar here. That wrestler that did that, was he booked on that show or did he just pay to get in?
Just
How
showed
did
up. I
how
think
did he get there?
they said he was just hanging out and doing cocaine or something,
Whoa.
and drinking, doing drugs, and just I guess he got enough balls to come and try to get attention on himself, and didn't turn out too well for him.
Did he pay to get in the building? I wonder.
That's
That's
what
kind of
that's what Brett said. He had a ticket with his name on it, so he did in fact buy a ticket. So
wow. Unbelievable.
it's
How
just a guy.
crazy is
It's
that?
I mean, it was just a guy who he was complaining about what he was paid by AEW. I think it was the day after Brody Lee's passing, and that roster's grieving, and we're all grieving, and that's like it was such a shock to deal with that in real time. You always heard, like growing up, reading in the magazines, like all these wrestlers suddenly passing and stuff, and all that stuff, and it was surreal to read that stuff coming up in whether it be the PWI almanacs or the internet or whatever. Reading that stuff growing up, like, well, imagine how the wrestlers feel in that situation. And throughout the years, I've had a couple of those situations where there was a sudden passing of a colleague or another wrestler. A couple in the last couple of years, Brody, Jay Briscoe, Marcus Crane. And, it's rough. It's a rough situation. I didn't really know Brody Lee too well because he was in WWE and I was on the Indies. My rise of the Indies came after he went to WWE. So we kind of, my girlfriend at the time was living in Tampa and he was living in Tampa right down the street. So he's like, why don't we ride together to Jacksonville? And we rode together a few times and he was a great dude, nice guy. He wanted to know all about what the Indies were about these days. And he was a cool dude. And, like we only knew each other for a short amount of time, but he did leave a great impression on me. Family man, nice guy. And this guy comes and he's complaining about $80 the day after he died. I just couldn't fathom that. And a lot of the wrestlers, they don't want to go online and cause a stir, cause a ruckus, but I have no problem doing that. Ricky Starks was another one, and Britt Baker. I think we were the three that publicly said something, but I was pissed. I was sending him DMs saying, listen, next when I see you, we're going to fight. But I didn't think it would be 4 years fucking later. I didn't even recognize him when he came off the table.
Wow.
I never really met the guy either. I never met him personally. So I didn't know what he looked like. And he put on like 50 pounds, it seemed like. So he's obviously pigging out. But this guy, he came up and flipped a table. This is 4 years later. It's like, come on, man. How long can you hold a grudge? I'd rather him hit me up in the DMs 4 years later and be like, remember what I did 4 years ago? I feel bad about that.
Right.
I'm not a fighter. Never been a fighter. I've never been a real life fighter. I've always been a fake fighter in spandex. And when I got into fights in high school, I was never squaring up like a boxer. It was always to take them down and possibly choke them unconscious. I never could really. I could throw a great fake punch. Not sure if I can throw a great real punch. Sure, I can if I can but I never really. I don't like fighting. I don't like it. But thank God the guys had my back that night because I was hurting with that bicep. And
And it's interesting you say that though. You're not a fighter, you don't like to fight, but man, you're tough as nails. You can get your ass kicked, in the wrestling ring and and all over the place. You could take a beating.
I mean, all the fights I got into high school, I was known for the punishment I could take, getting punched in the face multiple times and just laughing at the person. That was what I was. I was never a fighter. This guy's he claimed he trained to be a boxer, but we all know that wasn't the case. Because I didn't have my hands up at all, and he missed twice. But I hate to keep talking about this situation, but I really haven't talked about it too much. But I don't want to give this guy attention, who obviously was looking for attention,
Right.
and he obviously he needs attention because he buys his followers on social media or something. I don't know. He's just a weird guy. I don't know. It was a weird situation, and I guess he's got demons or something. Because obviously he was high on drugs. Someone said he was doing cocaine outside the venue, but I don't know. Obviously he had demons, but to hold a grudge after 4 years is crazy. I would never hold a grudge after 4 years. I'd rather talk it out than anything.
Yeah, really. Jeez.
And I always do. With the incident with Big Cass, obviously that was substance induced, and incident with Enzo that was on my behalf, my fault, and alcohol induced, and I squashed those beefs right away because I don't want any. I'm generally a nice guy. I don't know. That's what I'm known in the locker rooms, to be a nice guy. I can be a dickhead at times, but so can everyone. I'm killing myself. I'm on the road so many times a year. The last for most of my life.
Yeah.
Always gonna be jolly.
Are you a locker room leader in GCW?
Okay, I would say yes. Locker room leader all over the Indies, I'd say, for sure. A lot of the young guys, they look up to me. You know, I've been in the business since I was 15 years old, so I've seen the business go through changes like crazy. I've seen how far it's come, you know, and wrestling's in a lot better place now than it was when I first got in. You know, whether it be bullying or hazing, which I went through, or wrestlers get taken advantage of by promoters, or girls getting taken advantage of by other wrestlers sexually. I've seen all those changes, and wrestling's in a lot better place these days.
What about the indie scene in general? What do you think, like talent-wise? Because I see that people talking about how it's a lot better now than it was then. So what is your take on that?
I mean, it's just different. Some people will say it was better 20 years ago. The talent was better. I think all around the talent is better now, you know, but it was like there was that time in like that 2004 period, that Ring of Honor time, you know, and there was like these machines. But they were also a product of the environment. They're a product of that hazing, that bullying in the locker room, you know? There's none of that anymore, you know? That's my opinion, that they were a different type of animal because of the atmosphere, you know?
Definitely.
But now overall, you could go to use the Cornette lingo, outlaw mud show in Wichita, Kansas, and you'd see a few guys on there that you'd never seen before. Like, wow, I mean, these guys are good.
Do you ever take any of that stuff like personally, like what like when they having like nicknames, like and stuff like that? And
Not Jim Cornette. I love Cornette. I've said this many times. I don't love guys. I love Cornette because he is Jim Cornette. You know, he has the right to his opinion, and because he has a track record. There's guys like these JD from New York characters, these grifters. They've never done anything for the business. They just grifted to make money off the business. You know, they try to follow the same template as the Jim Cornettes and Eric Bischoffs, but they've never done anything. They've never paid a single due. They don't know what it is to be on the road for most of the year, you know? They don't know what it is to miss funerals, birthdays, and stuff. You know? These guys are just grifting off the hard work of the men and women who bust their asses. You know? You have a right to opinion to not like something. You know? That's your right as a fan, but for you to go in depth and personally attack people, it's just sick. That's like, I said I don't like to fight, but if like I run into that guy, like obviously I'm gonna have to beat his ass. I mean, I gotta have to do one for the business.
Yeah.
For that. I mean, but it's like Jim Cornette, like the jelly Nutella thing, like his fans are worse than him. Like his fans piss me off. But he doesn't piss me off. I listen to his podcast. So does everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I always do. He's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's a good thing. It's a good way. Sometimes it puts me to sleep. Not saying that he's boring or anything, but sometimes too much TV, too much stimulus. All I need is a soft, soothing Jim Cornette voice to send me to bed.
Makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Now, obviously, you're injured now, but what about like how long? What's the timetable for return? Like, what about Sabu? What about that? Is anything up in the air? Or?
Everything's up in the air right now. I don't know. I won't know until next week. I mean, if you're familiar with a bicep injury, that seems very unlikely. That timetable, I'd have to really be a psychopath to get to. But we'll see. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? It's hard. It's hard to fathom me not. It's going to be my biggest show yet. You know, there's going to be 2,000 people there in the Palms in Vegas. Big match. Sabu's final match. What I don't know. He's going around saying now it's not going to be his final match, but it's going to be his final match. But it's hard to come to reality that might not happen now, and we'll see. It's just everything's up in the air, and Just want to get through surgery and get through this week. I have lots of snacks here from my great girlfriend, Megan Bain, who is killing it at AEW and getting that Tony Khan money so she could buy me lots of nice snacks. And just want to sit here and have pig week and pig out for a week and relax and watch some movies. And next week we'll get back to basics, see what's going on, because I've been so disciplined for the past 7 months. Not so disciplined. I'm not going out and doing these crazy bodybuilder diets like a lot of these guys. They're getting a lot of diet plans from like guys like Cesar Bononi and stuff, and sticking to them. That's never been me, and that could never be me. I'm Joey Janela, obviously, but I've been, I eat healthy during the week and stuff and exercise 5 days, 6 days a week. So we're gonna get back to that next week. So whatever happens. Whenever it comes, we're ready.
So there's a possibility you could make spring break versus Sabu. It's a possibility.
I mean, it's a possibility. There's a possibility an asteroid will hit there in 2031. So, I mean, there's always a possibility.
Man, now I didn't realize Sabu was saying it might not be his last match.
He said, I don't know. He did some convention in England. He's saying, if I win, it won't be my last match. I don't know. That guy's out of his mind. He's Sabu, dude. Who knows? As far as I know, most of these guys, when they wrestle me and they have the match that I have in there, and as hard as I go, they go, oh, yeah, this is my final match. I can't have another match after this because I can't do this again.
It doesn't always seem like you're getting like not random guys, but it's just like I'll give you, for instance, like Barry Horowitz. It's like, wow, you could be wrestling Barry Horowitz's last match. You know what I mean? It just seems like
it basically
Sabu Horowitz. I love it though.
Marty Jannetty's last matches I've had.
Yep.
X-Pac's last match I had. Who knows? X-Pac's in good enough shape to go again, but who knows? A lot of these guys, they don't plan on it being their last match, but I think I had Virgil's last match too. I don't know.
Get out of here! Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not a walk in the park when it comes to me. I don't like to have these. I don't like to half-ass. I'm working my ass off to make you look good, so you got to put in a little bit of the effort.
Definitely. Where do these legends kind of come from? Is this your booking, your idea? Because this is awesome. It's like Jannetty, Virgil, Barry Horowitz again, who I love. Barry, he put you over big time. So it's like all these awesome random guys. You know what I mean? But they're all legends in their own right.
Yeah, just coming up in the weird carny indie circuit in New Jersey, I guess. Just like with all these guys, there's always I came up, in NWS, which was NWA Jersey when Carluzzo died. Dapper, Joe Panzerino, Gino Moore took it over. They took basically the outline of that business and took it over and made it a lot even more carny than it could be. And there was always these names coming in every town. That was a gimmick. It was, you'd have your untrained basically ticket sellers from each area. You'd have a few good guys. Your Rob Echoes, Mike Cruels, your Trent Acids of the world, and then you'd have that TV, either guy that's just coming off TV or guy from the 80s, the Greg Valentines or the Tito Santanas or the Jimmy Snickers. Yeah, the Bundys of the world.
Yeah.
And that was the outline of the show. And they'd run the most shows out of any indie in the United States because they were doing it they'd split. It was fucking crazy because they'd split Jersey up into it seemed like many different territories. So they could be in Brick, New Jersey 1 week, and then the next week they're in Manville, Jersey, and they're doing basically the same show, but there's not the same crowd there. That's something I think indie wrestling's missing, because that was cool, man. And he was drawing a lot of these places, but there's always these names, and I always wanted to be the guy to wrestle these names.
Yep.
And then there was guys like Kevin Matthews and Danny D'Amato who eventually got to that point where they would be the trusted names to wrestle these guys. And they were always thinking of ways to have good matches with these guys. A lot of guys were just half-assed. And I kind of just like looked at that and was like, that is kind of cool, And then I don't know when the first one happened for me. I think it was, I teamed with the Anvil 2 days in a row, and it was just, and it wasn't supposed to happen. I think the Anvil was just too fucked up. He was drinking Bud Lights, he was throwing them in the lockers, and he was sucking on a THC lollipop. And they were like, I was just sitting there in the crowd, and I think like Kevin Matthews, like, who's here? Like, Anvil's too fucked up. I can't wrestle him. They're like, oh, Janela's here. They're like, yeah, does Janela have his gear? And then they run up to me. I'm like, yeah, I have my gear. They're like, yeah, we need you to team with the Anvil. So you can do most of the match.
Yeah.
And then it turned into 2 days. And then I started, I developed from there, some kind of trust with some of the guys over here. And that's how I just kind of built my name, I got to do the heart attack. That was fucking cool, Got to do the heart attack. I got to cosplay as Bret Hart with a fucked up anvil.
I love it. That's awesome.
That's the shit I love, man. This was great. I have a great picture of that too. I have a great picture. One day, maybe I'll get it blown up and framed because that's really cool.
You know what's great about those indie shows? Because I remember I went to an indie show. God, it was like at Leonardo Elk Lodge or something. You know what I mean? There was somewhere, and Anvil was on the show. The quote unquote main event. But Eric Justice, the Power Child, if you will, he was on the show, and he was doing this weird thing where he's like, "Whoa!" like raise the roof, and he was doing like
that's
all
his
this
gimmick.
like,
yes,
yeah.
Dude, I've been telling everyone about this shit because I used to be like 12 years old, going to the indies, and the Power Child Eric Justice, who's big fucking, who's AJ now.
Yeah.
You see that boom, boom, boom. If you're listening, you don't know what I'm talking about. You will once, they're all over the place right now. That this guy is trying to be this biggest baby face in the Jersey Shore region. You would walk into the building and he'd place an 8x10 of himself on side on every chair. So when the Power Child came out and did his raise the roof thing, everyone would raise the 8x10 and go, yeah, this guy's our fucking Hulk Hogan. And me and my friends were like, this guy's a fucking cornball. This guy is corny. We're going to boo this guy. I was telling Clark Connors and 𝐓𝐇𝐄 the other day about that. We were talking. I'm like, yeah, you put an 8x10 on every chair. Me and my friends were like, this guy fucking sucks. Let's boo the shit out of him. He come out and raise the roof. And me and my friends talked about this guy for years. Like throughout our 20s. Like, remember Power Child Eric Justice? And we're like, oh my God. And now he's a millionaire.
That nuts? Is that crazy?
Doing booms. And he's wrestling on pay-per-views. It's like, fuck. It's like, what am I doing wrong?
That should be your spot too. Like you versus the random legend, if you will, because Power Child's a legend.
I mean, I tried to book him for GCW before the AEW thing. We had little talks, but something was rumbling, so we missed out on that because I wanted those guys. I wanted to wrestle that guy because I knew I could have made a spectacle out of that one. But man, I'm happy for that guy. I'm happy for his family. They're probably living on cloud nine. His kids and his wife. They get to go to the Super Bowl. They get to do all this stuff, and most of these guys, like with their viral staying power, it's only a few months and then they're gone, or they fuck it up somehow and do something stupid to get canceled. But these guys have staying power. It's been a year and a half now of straight. This guy is still NFL on the Super Bowl on the account. They're saying, look who's here. It's like the Rizzlers at Daytona 500, and they're boasting about it on social media. It's like, man, these guys have staying power. Good for these guys, Good for their families.
I was telling my son's 9. I was like explaining to him about how the power child Eric Justice. I was like, I used to watch this guy wrestle. He's like, how come he didn't get famous wrestling? I was like, he got famous going boom at Costco because he
Now he's
follows the
wrestling
kid
too.
online or whatever in the Rizzler.
I mean, and people, these guys are famous. I mean, they're at least B-list celebrities now.
Man, me and my buddies too. We used to crack up at the raise the roof. Like, how corny is that? He's going, whoa, raise the roof.
We were doing the same thing. Me and my friends thought this guy was the corniest fucking guy in the world. And we're like, we'd boo him, like, boo, you suck. Like, this guy, who does this guy think he is? Fucking Lex Luger. Like,
And I don't know, for some reason in my head, I always hear the announcer go, the power child, Eric Justice. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you got to do the inflection of the
yeah.
up and down of his name.
It
Oh,
was
man.
probably Dapper Joe Panzerino doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I
yeah.
thought I saw this a couple of years ago. I thought I saw Dapper Johnny at like a random Walgreens, probably the one in Hazlitt. I thought I saw him, and he was like, don't be so loud. So I'm like, what is this guy in witness protection? What's going on with this guy?
I
This
don't
is
know.
like 10
I seen
years
him
ago
at
or
the.
so.
I mean, I seen him. I was at an LA Fitness. For those listening, don't know Joe Panzerino. He basically was a manager in the '90s for Dennis Carluzzo. And when Carluzzo died, he took over the territory, like I said, it turned to NWS, and was known to be the most carniest promoter like of all time, basically. And he gave me my start, but I seen a guy. I was at LA Fitness in Homedale about 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a bunch of cops at the front. I walk in, there's a bunch of cops at the front counter, and they're talking to this guy, and this guy looks like, kind of looks deranged a little bit. I think, man, maybe there's some weird homeless guy in here or something. But I'm looking from the treadmill, and I'm looking like this. Wait a second, is that Dapper?
Oh my God.
Oh my God! And apparently he had a stroke, and he had also cancer, maybe in the mouth or something. So he has large chunk taken out of his face, and plus the stroke, like he looked like Two-Face, basically. I hate to say it, but
Wow.
tobacco,
Damn.
you know, I couldn't go up to him in that state, you know. But
Yeah.
after I went on, he I guess someone tried to break in his car or something because he's rich, he still has money, so no matter how he got the money, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Whoever he had to scam to get that money, that doesn't matter. But he had a nice car. Apparently, he's talking to cops about that. But I mean, he was in rough shape. He's still kicking. When I first match I had TV against 𝐘𝐒, he hit me up and he was like, "Where's my finder's fee?" Like, that's the first time I heard from him in years. But it's crazy. We were pretty close. I still remember his phone number by heart. So
Wow. Oh my God.
yeah. So
I
that was
remember
like,
seeing like Big Slam Vader and the Zombie at some of his shows.
I mean, you name it, Golga. There was a fake Golga that started at the end of the Carluzzo era when Golga was on. I guess they got Tenta a couple times, and then I guess they stopped getting Tenta, so they put any fat guy they could in the Golga outfit, and somehow they made that Golga last 20 years on that Carney circuit because
Insane. Yep.
whenever they would sell the shows to the venues, there would be called sold shows, and if you're in a high school, you got like 3 tiers. You got the lower tier with the lower TV names. All right, we can get you 2 TV names. We can get you Golga and the famous clown, which would just be 2 guys in those costumes, and they'll give you. And then there'd be the second tier, which will get you those 2 names with like a Tito Santana, or there'd be like the third tier where it'd be like we could get you someone fresh off TV, like they had like when Chris Masters or Carlito, or Ken Kennedy when they left television, that was like the upper echelon name plus all the other freaks in their fake gimmicks. So that Golga, they made last like 20 years. They had any fat guy that they could find dressed in that Golga mask and a white T-shirt and sweatpants, and that was a fucking TV name. It's just something else looking back on.
It is crazy thinking of how many shows I went to then. Like, I remember one time he had Bam Bam booked, and for some reason Bam Bam came late, so he didn't use Bam Bam. Probably still didn't have to pay him. Julio De Niro was on that show doing the
Oh
Nation
yeah,
of Immigration. Like, it was like wild stuff sometimes at those shows.
yeah. The Baghdad Bullies. That was the best one.
Oh
That was
yes!
my
Oh my God!
that was my favorite. That was the most like that was like my favorite. Like, but none of the guys were like Iraqi or Middle Eastern.
No.
Hashim Ali was like the main guy. He was a black dude, but they called him Hashim Chemical Ali. And then there was big fat one, Saddam Insane. They would call him.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yes.
he was Puerto Rican. And then they had they had a at one point they had another Spanish guy who they would say was like a Iraqi like dictator guy manager, but then he left and they replaced him with I forgot the guy's name, but he was a fat Jewish guy and they would call him King I Do Stink. And he would come out in a turban and stuff. And Hashim Ali's finish for a while would be like the suicide bomber splash where they'd put a backpack on his chest and he did a splash off the top rope. And
Holy
looking back,
crap!
like that shit was crazy. Like that's like if this would happen in 2025, we'd all be canceled and gone straight to hell.
Yeah, you're not
But
doing
looking
that
back,
now.
like
No.
some of the stuff I've seen in my life, like none of these young people coming up will ever, even come close to seeing what I've seen in this business. But like the Baghdad Bullies, that was like that was something else.
Saddam Insane. Yes, that's great gimmicks.
I mean, for the time, like they got the heat. Like people would like that was post 9/11 world, post
Yeah.
Dom like Hussein like was making that comeback. So like people, they would every city they would go to, city. I call it city like we're U.S. tour. No, it was New Jersey tour. Every town, village, whatever they would go to, they would get that heat, and they'd introduce that backpack.
Yeah, at Raritan High School. Yeah, yeah.
It's just yeah, crazy times, but yeah, there's always like craziness, and I think wrestling misses that, but I think it's better off without it.
Yeah, probably. Although far cry from the great Jersey scene of like Ace Starling and Devon Storm, having good matches. You know what I mean? Far cry
I
from
mean, I just did Ace Starling's podcast a couple weeks ago. Finally,
my buddy. Yeah, I
you
love Ace.
two, you two guys been trying to hit me up do podcasts for a year, and then I say, "Oh, we'll do it
Yeah,
next week,"
yeah,
and then
yeah, yeah.
and then we get to next week. I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing something." So
Yeah,
I
you're
live so
booked like every
sporadic.
damn
Like
week. Yep.
either I'm booked or at the time I was like, he'd be like, "Hey, you ready to do the podcast?" Today? I'm like, "Fuck, I'm at a bar right now. I can do a podcast." But yeah, I knocked both of you guys off the list. So
Nice,
um,
awesome. Ace is a buddy of mine. I love him.
yeah, he's a great
Great
guy.
guy.
He lives like 20 minutes from me now. He said, "I'm in Brick, New Jersey now. I'm by basically Manalocan. It's just Brick zip code down the shore. He lives in Freehold or Howell, I believe. So maybe we'll
Yeah,
link
you're
up. We'll
both
take a
not
win.
that far from me. I'm in Asbury Park, really Tinton
Oh
Falls,
yeah,
but
yeah,
Asbury Park, so I'm pretty close.
yeah. That's my build hometown. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
"You're not from Asbury." I'm like, I mean, yeah, sure. It's just my Bigelow
Well,
tribute.
well, whenever I say Tinton Falls, nobody knows what that is or where that is. So I always say Asbury Park. It's literally I live off a street, and Asbury's right there. So it's like, well, Asbury Park is good. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, that's just I come out hailing from Asbury because because who the fuck coming from Hazlet, New Jersey, no one gives a shit.
No.
Asbury, so that's my Bigelow tribute. So
Yeah, of course. Everybody knows that's the home of the Beast from East, Bam Bam Bigelow. So you
yes,
got to say Asbury
look
Park.
at this. There you go.
Nice. Nice. Love that. Now, I wanted to ask you just randomly about two guys, just your thought quickly off the top of your head. Random guy, John Zandig. What's the thoughts?
Um, I mean, nut job. But change the business, change independent wrestling. Kind of one of the guys.
What
And
about
certainly a nutcase though.
when he hurt you? Remember, didn't he injure you?
I mean, that was my fault. I wanted to do that. He didn't injure me. He saved my ass. He saved my life, actually.
Really? How so?
I mean, when we did that truck thing, that was like that was a reboot of the him and Nick Mondo bump from Tournament of Death 2. And when he was coming out of retirement, we didn't believe it was him on Facebook saying he wanted to come out of retirement. So I started challenging him to matches on Facebook, and it was him. And he's like, "Who is this kid? I like him. I want to wrestle him." And then I said, "Yeah, I'll throw me off a roof." And we got to the venue, and he had this thing set up. And I thought it was the lower roof, but it was the higher roof. I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna die." He's like, "We're gonna do it to the back of this truck, but the springs and the barbed wire at the bottom of the truck will cushion the fall, and you'll be all right." But they parked the truck too close, so he had to kind of pencil dive in, or else I would have went on top of the truck or through the windshield, or whatever. I came pretty close to dying anyway because the way I was tucked, I almost hit my head on the sidebar. It was just stupid all around, but it kind of made my career. But he had to pencil dive in, which resulted in him breaking his back. And now he walks with a cane because of that.
Wow.
So basically saved my life with that.
Crazy spot, crazy bump. Another thing where it's like you're kind of indestructible at certain times where you're not really going to get hurt. Other people would probably get hurt pretty severely.
I mean, yeah, that was a crazy one. I don't know how I just ripped open my thumb pretty bad and cut all the tendons in there to the bone. But yeah, that was I don't even consider that a major injury anymore. I consider my knee and this one 2 major injuries. I still had to take a couple of months off from that just to get the movement back in my thumb. But still, kind of minor compared to these two. And these both happened by doing stuff not even close to the level of that. So.
And what about Tony Khan AEW? Did you enjoy your time there at all, or was
Yeah,
it?
I mean, yeah, somewhat. I like Tony a lot. No problem with him. I think he's different now than he was when I first met him. But who knows? He was always great to me. In the beginning days of AEW, I was the party guy. I was the one that always wanted to go out and have a good time after the shows, and he wanted to go out and have a good time too. So he kind of Joey, what are you doing tonight? Come, let's go drink some tequila somewhere or something. And it was cool. This guy's cool, and no hard feelings. About how it turned out, but he gave me some great opportunities. But it is there is inmates running that asylum sometimes. And even if Tony has an idea for you or someone else has an idea for you, there's someone will come and knock you off that stoop. But never say never. Maybe if you asked me 2 years ago, what do I want to go back to AEW? Would I ever end up back at AEW? I'd say no. If you ask me now, I'd go, yeah, probably. So who knows? I'm a different person now than I was 7 months ago because I've, sober now because I went through a bout of pancreatitis and realized that was I was never an alcoholic where, it ruined me. What did I say? I was never an alcoholic to the point where it affected anything, work or personal life, But I guess I binged way too many times that my pancreas was crying for help. So
Wow, damn.
I had to quit. That. Thank God for my girlfriend. She's so wonderful. If it wasn't for her, I'd probably, I don't know what I would do, but she's been with me for almost a year now, and I stopped drinking 7 months ago. I've been 7 months sober, so I'm a completely different person than I was 7 months ago. Completely different person than I was in AEW. But as far as getting the job done professionally now, I'm. It sucks because the bicep thing happened at the wrong time, just as I was really starting to, fire off on all cylinders. But, who knows? You never say never. I could end up somewhere else. I could end up backstage somewhere. I've talked to people about that. But I'm not ready to close the chapter on me wrestling. I think I have a couple more runs in me. I still have goals.
And a big spring break coming up. But what are some of your goals coming up?
I mean, I've hit a lot of my goals. The thing is, but I still want to do the Tokyo Dome and all that stuff. Shot at doing Madison Square Garden. Is there a shot? Who knows? Never say never in wrestling.
Yep.
I have people I was wrestling in VFWs with 5 years ago, wrestling at Wembley Stadium. So never say never. All I know is I'm good enough right now that I could go to any TV company and do something, and really just make up for the way things ended up a few years ago.
As we hit the wind down, head towards the finish here, I know spring break is coming up. Is this the biggest spring break of all time, do you think? Do you think they just keep getting bigger and bigger? And do you think that this will be the biggest?
I mean, I feel like the last few, it kind of lost its spring break feeling. I feel like last year we tried to restore it a little bit, but still we're not there. This, I feel like, will restore that feeling of spring break. What I have planned, or what I'm trying to accomplish with this. It will be the biggest draw in spring break history, next to spring break 2, which I don't know what the final count there was, but there'll be over 2,000 people at this one. Nicest venue for spring break. It will look fucking professional. It is the biggest. And just want to really go back to stop focusing on pushing GCW storylines into spring break. We have plenty of other GCW shows we could do that. This is spring break. Let's just get wild with it and have fun. Put on a good show. Not try to take it too seriously like we did with Hammerstein. Just have fun. That's what it was about. That's why we did it. To have fun and laugh, and the show you could show up to and show up pissed drunk or on mushrooms and have a good time. That's what I want to provide for fans. I don't want to take it too seriously. Like we've been too many storylines going into these shows, and we got some good stuff lined up, and the fans are really once the card shapes up, it's gonna be a really good one.
Do you have any other dream matches left? I know maybe like Sabu coming up, maybe Power Child, Eric Justice. Do you have?
That'd be a good one. The Rizzler has to be involved, or else. But everyone I wrestled basically everyone I wanted to wrestle. The ones that I almost tried to wrestle, like the Mudas and the Ligers, are retired, or there's wrestlers that are dead that I'll never get to wrestle. But I can't really. Maybe Will Ospreay. I don't. I think we'd have a pretty good match, but as far as real obscure dream matches, kind of did everything I always wanted. Never get to wrestle John Cena, so that's about it. I don't know.
Now, as far as following you and on social media and stuff, where obviously give me all your socials, but where can everybody get some spring break tickets as well?
Just go to GCW, go to Collective on Twitter, on Instagram. You'll find it. They're plugging it all the time, but I think it's on Ticketmaster, unfortunately, for the fans. So that means if you want tickets, you're going to be paying $200 worth of service fees. That's not our fault. That's the venue's fault. That's what happens when you run Palms in Vegas.
Bigger show, yeah. Yep.
And I'm just looking forward to it. Even if I can't wrestle on the show, I'm looking forward to everything. Having everything in Like, I mean, I don't even have to leave the casino. Our rooms will be in the Palms, because the blackjack tables will be in the Palms, and the wrestling will be in the Palms. I don't see any need to go anywhere else. Besides, I'll probably get a Herbs and Rye steakhouse, because that's one of the best, and hit the oyster bar at Palace Station. I love Vegas. That's like my favorite place. Even if I still don't drink or don't party like I used to, I think Vegas, I'd still have a pretty good time there. So
Where can everybody find you, by the way, on social media?
the Bad Boy Joey Janela on Instagram, and on Twitter, I'm basically shadow banned. You really have to type in my name. They treat me like I showed my dick on there or something too many times. It's Janela baby, and then you hit the hashtag. You have to hit search, and I'll appear there. Same thing they do to porn stars, but I've never showed my titties anywhere.
Crazy what they do on there. Joey, we finally got it done. The old Hazlitt Homedale connection here got it done
Yes.
finally. Joey, thank
Yeah,
you so much for all the time.
yeah, and hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.